Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, and Blizzard finally added some more stuff for us to check out and see what they are doing on patch 8.3 PTR. I know, Shadowlands just happened, and most of you guys are probably very much excited to be over with BFA, but we still do have patch 8.3 on the horizon before Shadowlands, and hopefully patch 8.3 is going to be a good patch. In this video, I want to go over all of the newest updates we have right now for everything that you need to know about when it comes to Shadowlands. First, let's get on to some of the shorter news, and then we'll get into the meat and bones of it. First of all, the Essence system. A lot of you guys are probably expecting, with 8.3 being the last patch for Battle for Azeroth, Blizzard would do the same thing they did for Legion, and make acquiring essences, like completing your artifact weapon, a lot easier. Blizzard is not making essences easier to earn in the next patch. They're not doing what everybody wants them to, which is to make them account bound. Rather, they are decreasing some of the requirements needed for these essences. So if you have an essence that's locked behind reputation, or maybe the Nazjatar follower XP farming, then they are going to be reducing how much rep you need by going from Exalted being the last rank you need down to Revered, so you'll get your essences slightly faster as you rank up in rep. Also for Nazjatar, there will be adding a way for you to convert mana pearls into reputation to send cross ults, so that'll be a lot easier for you to get your main ults up and running. And the XP needed for the followers in Nazjatar for Alliance or Horde is also going to be reduced for you to get your Lucid Dreams much faster. This isn't exactly the change that a lot of people were hoping for, but it is better than nothing. The essences will still provide to be quite something you'll need to earn, but with 8.3 being kind of a far away distance, I might make a video on everything you need to do right now in order to get your essences up and running for any alts that you want to play for patch 8.3. But until then, happy farming. Now we will talk about some of the other things that you might be able to experience on the patch 8.3 and some of the other things that I found interesting in terms of buffs, nerfs, and general updates for the future patch. Blizzard, first of all, is going to be doing some changes to some of the spells, as well as a few class-based abilities. Not too many, so this isn't a crazy amount of class changes incoming at you. But the essences that are supposed to reduce corruption should now be functional on PTR for testing. The Warlock talent changes should now be finally in effect, and it does seem like Warlock is doing quite a bit of extra damage now, especially for Affliction, for anybody that loved the sustain-based playstyle rather than the burst-based playstyle of the spec. A raid-themed trait is also being added to the new pieces of Azeroth gear in the brand new raid. This one plays with your corruption and gives you extra stats if your corruption is above 25. This is going to be quite a value because I guess Blizzard is expecting for everybody to get a little bit of corruption in the gear no matter how you slice it. It does seem like another ability for your necklace has been added into the files of the game called Purity of the World Soul, which increases corruption resistance by a certain amount. Now, this isn't something we can test, but I am going to wager a guess that once you complete and you have leveled up your neck level to the highest possible, you'll still be able to grind AP afterwards. So this could be similar, not saying it will be, but this is my guess, that it'll be very similar to the artifact weapons of Legion, where once you have leveled up the weapon to its fullest and gotten every trait available, you'll have a very last trait at the end that can be almost infinitely stackable. So you'll keep funneling any kind of AP into this trait. It would make sense to add some sort of system like this instead of making AP kind of useless once your necklace is fully upgraded, and this way you'll be able to keep increasing how much corruption you are managing, so that you might be able to wear more corruption on your gear, therefore making your character stronger if you're someone who loves infinite amount of farming. If you're a fan of Mythic Plus, then you'll be very happy that there are some new Mythic Plus rewards. If you complete Mythic Plus Keystone Conqueror achievement for Season 4, you'll get a title called The Awakened. To earn Mythic Keystone Conqueror, you'll need to complete every single one of the keys. This includes the new Mechagon dungeon that is going to be split into 2 separate keys. Once you complete them all at a 10, you'll be able to earn this title. And there's also a better version of this unlock that has a new mount. If you earn the Keystone Master, which has you complete every dungeon at a level 15 at least, you'll get a new mount called the Awakened Mindborer. This is a great idea when it comes to you getting different types of rewards from Mythic Pluses. First of all, the gear for Mythic Pluses is going to be tuned slightly differently. Since gear can no longer Titan Forge, we won't be able to get massive upgrades from our Mythic Plus chests with patch 8.3. Gear still can be corrupted and it can be an upgrade to your character, but sometimes these corruptions aren't a bonus and will be cleansed off because the corruption stacks and the debuffs are just not worth it. So the gear itself isn't going to be by default amazing once everybody is doing some of the Mythic raid content in the new raid, but allowing people to get a title but also a mount is going to be even better than everybody having to shoot for some sort of mythical Radar IO made up number score that doesn't exist except within the confines of the Mythic Plus community. So I think this is a much better reward to get people engaged and trying to want to get into Mythic Pluses, particularly with this season, since this affix is actually looking quite easy for newcomers, but also quite fun to play around with. We're also seeing a nerf to some of the gear bonuses that you'll be able to earn when your gear gets corrupted in patch 8.3. Corruption gear comes in different ways. The stronger the buff that it provides, which can be extra stats, extra leech, extra movement speed, extra regeneration, maybe you take less damage from damage over time abilities, but then there is the biggest one, damage on critical strike increased by upwards to 5, 6, and 7%, which can stack, which is probably the strongest enchant possible from corruption. That crit damage bonus is getting nerfed. So instead of having it to be in tiers where the higher the tier, the more the buffs you get, but the more corruption you get out of the piece. At tier 1, we are gonna see numbers of 2%, at tier 2 is 3%, and tier 3 is 4%. So the most amount of damage you can get from a single piece of gear with corruption that increases the damage on your critical strikes is 4%, better than 7%. There's still a bit of a problem with some of these corruption enchants, as some of them are stronger than others, and some of these enchants alone can be a 20 item level damage increase if you're lucky on the corruption. So still, I feel like this is a good change, but this doesn't solve a lot of issues. And there's a couple of ways that I think Blizzard could still fix in order to balance them a little bit better. The biggest problem with the critical strike damage increase is it's still stackable. Even if you don't get 5%, 6%, 7% of crit damage bonus, even getting a couple of pieces with 4% can turn into 12% damage increase on critical strikes very easily. A fire mage with this, or any class that utilizes crit like Fury Warrior, Outlaw Rogue, Enhancement Shaman, Elemental Shaman, Affliction Warlock, and a handful of other classes that use crit for damage modifiers. Those classes would find it exceptionally useful in their builds, and it will be a massive increase for damage. So for the sake of balancing, these are the two things that Blizzard could do with these corruption bonuses. First of all, you could make the crit increases be non-stackable. So if you have, let's say, a piece of gear with a 2% crit damage increase and a piece of gear with a 4%, the game will just use the 4% damage increase and will ignore the 2%. So that every person that gets corruption pieces of gear will look for at least one piece that gives you crit damage increase. So then it makes it a lot easier to balance classes and not let them be overtuned. Another way to fix this corruption and strike through effect would be to make the amount of corruption that you get on those critical strike damage increase bonuses a lot bigger. So then it's a gameplay for the player who gets that bonus to manage your corruption. That means a person that doesn't have strike through to increase the critical strike damage of your abilities might be able to wear 2, 3, or 4 pieces of corruption gear without exceeding a corruption limit, but a person with strike through will be basically stooped down to just one piece of loot because of the amount of corruption that it gains. So the person with less pieces, but they're less valuable, will still be in relatively same strength as a person with a very highly sought out piece, but only one of it can be used on gear without any massive deliberating effects massively affecting your gameplay. We'll see what Blizzard ends up doing with this, but this is good. They ended up nerfing this bonus because they thought this would cause problems with this patch 8.3. A boatload of new mounts have also been added with this patch 8.3, and now we can actually take a look at them on Wowhead, so I'll show some screenshots of them. We have 2 zones that we'll be going to, not new zones, but rather reuses of original zones, Pandalands and Uldum. In the Pandaria, we'll be going to the Vale, where we'll be stopping the incursion of the N'Zoth minions, and from there you'll be able to kill rares, as well as do objectives in order to earn mounts. So very similar to Dark Shore in a sense. We'll be able to do the same thing in Uldum, and there's a variety of different mounts. I'm pretty sure some of them come with a reputation bonus, but others will be from farming certain rares in order to get that lucky drop for a rare mount. We also got a bunch of overpowered weapons from the new raid, and all of them have a corruption negative effect, but also a corruption bonus. All these weapons are unique in the effects that they have. And when taking a look at them, they are quite powerful. there's a few classes that I think would benefit massively from just using even one of those weapons on their character. And all of them can be used by everybody except for rogues. So it's funny enough that there's no daggers or agility one-handers that a rogue might be able to use in order to get some of these benefits. Maybe these weapons were added in the game for certain specs and classes to be a little bit more competitive. When it comes to balancing classes to adjusting their abilities, it sometimes is very difficult for Blizzard to find the perfect balance to make certain specs more viable. So maybe these weapons will be like a band-aid. For this raid tier, if a spec has one of these weapons, then it might be the best in slot piece that might allow them to finally shine. So then maybe we might see a lot more feral druids in the game, maybe a lot more survival hunters running around after they get their powerful weapon, and maybe a few casters that generally don't see that much play in PvE, maybe even PvP, might be seeing a lot more with the crazy bonuses that they can get with their weapons. All these weapons are corrupted, so that means corruption management is going to be important. That means if you play any of the classes that can manage to get a hold of these weapons, might mean that you might have to sacrifice some of your more powerful essences for the newer essences that reduce the amount of corruption that you have on your character. Either way, I'm kind of excited. It is a little bit sad that none of them can be used by rogues from all the weapons that I've seen. Maybe Blizzard will add more in the future, but overall, all these bonuses actually look ridiculously strong, and I cannot wait to get them on all of my alts. And this is going to be everything that we know so far of the patch 8.3. I do hope you guys enjoyed. I tried to cover it in as much detail as possible. Patch 8.3 is soon to be released after the holidays in January. They said it's going to be early 2020. So hopefully this patch will be very exciting. It's going to be quite a bit of time before we get it. There's a couple of videos for me to make for the wait for patch 8.3. And hopefully we'll start seeing more stuff about Shadowlands in the near future. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see all of you in another video.